Wow. Over half of all truck driver deaths in crashes are from rollovers. That's uh, that's a lot. Makes you really think about those massive trucks we see out there every day. The ones hauling groceries and construction stuff.
Right. Easy to forget how big and heavy those things are until you're right beside one. And that's where understanding this thing called center of gravity is so important for combination vehicle safety.
Okay, center of gravity. Sounds kind of like a physics lecture. Uh-huh.
Well, it is, but we can make it simple. Think about it like stacking a tall tower of books, right?
Yeah.
You can go pretty high if the base is wide and the weight is spread out. But if you put like the heaviest books on top or make the stack too narrow, unstable, tips over.
Oh, yeah, I see, I see. So same deal with tractor trailers. Too top heavy, and they're more likely to roll.
Exactly. Higher the center of gravity, the easier it is for that vehicle to roll, especially in sharp turns, or if they have to swerve suddenly. Actually, you know what? Studies show a loaded rig is 10 times more likely to roll than an empty one in a crash.
10 times. Whoa. Okay, so besides giving them plenty of space, what's the takeaway for us driving around these rigs?
Oh, for sure, give them space. But yeah, it's more than that. It's all about how that cargo is distributed inside the trailer, spread out evenly, kept low. Huge difference for stability. Just like those books, good balance equals a safer ride.
Huh. So it's not just about the driver being careful, but also about whoever loaded the truck in the first place. Never thought about that.
It's amazing all the things they have to consider to keep those things upright. Speaking of which, that leads us to another misconception about these vehicles, empty trailers.
Oh, yeah. You'd think an empty truck would be less risky, right?
Mm.
Less weight to tip over.
That's what most folks figure, but it's trickier than that. See, when a combination vehicle is empty, its suspension system, those big, tough springs, well, they're at their stiffest point.
Stiffer suspension. Okay, so what does that actually do to, like, how the truck handles?
Basically, less give in the system. It can actually make the wheels easier to lock up when they're braking, reduced traction.
So it's like trying to stop a shopping cart with a wobbly wheel,
Yeah.
kind of all over the place.
Exactly. And that's especially important to keep in mind with bobtail tractors, the ones without a trailer attached. They can be surprisingly trickier to handle than a fully loaded truck because of that stiff suspension.
Really. You'd think heavier vehicle, harder to stop, right?
You would, but combination vehicles, sometimes the physics are a little strange, which is why, and I really can't stress this enough, it can give these guys lots of space on the road. Their braking distance is way longer than you think. And a sudden stop could be bad news.
And speaking of unexpected movements,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the crack the whip effect. This is where it gets kind of wild, right?
Yeah, this is one of those things that makes driving these long combinations so challenging. Okay, so picture this. Combination vehicle needs to make a sudden lane change. The tractor, the front part, it adjusts pretty quick, but the trailer,
Right.
because of the weight and how it's hooked up, it lags behind.
Oh, okay. So,
Like cracking a whip, right? The end moves way faster than the handle.
and if there's multiple trailers, that effect is, like, multiplied.
Exactly. Each trailer kind of amplifies the one in front of it. Research actually shows, with a triple, those rigs with 3 trailers, that last trailer can swing out more than 3 times wider than the tractor during a maneuver.
Wow.
It's all about preventing that rear trailer from, clipping something. That's why you see these guys making those really wide turns.
So giving those drivers space isn't just being polite, it's about realizing what they're up against every time they turn.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of turns, let's talk about why those wide turns are so important, even if they seem a little, counterintuitive sometimes.
I admit, when I see a big rig making a really wide turn, I kind of think, hey, come on, do they really need all that space?
Yeah.
But knowing how those trailers track now, I get it.
It's all about those rear wheels, right? They take a totally different path than the front ones. Drivers got to remember that, or they'll end up hitting curbs, signs, who knows what. And actually, here's a tip for those combination vehicle drivers out there. When you're making a right turn, see if you can keep the back of your rig close to the curb.
Really? That seems kind of counterintuitive, doesn't it? Won't other drivers think they can squeeze by on the right?
That's the point. Might seem weird, but it actually discourages those risky passing moves. Other drivers, they have less space to try anything, creates a safer situation for everybody.
Huh. I guess that makes sense.
And speaking of, well, potentially hairy situations, have you ever thought about trailer skids? Those can be pretty scary.
Yeah, trailer skids. Sounds like a recipe for disaster. But our sources actually had some great advice on those. First things first, early recognition.
Absolutely. The sooner you realize that trailer's skidding, the better chance you have to regain control. Watch those mirrors. That's your early warning system right there. See the trailer starting to swing out. Time to act fast.
Okay, so you're watching your mirrors, and oh, you see that trailer start to swing? What do?
Well, this is going to sound a little strange, but
Yeah.
the best thing to do is actually let go of the brakes.
Whoa, really? You'd think you'd want to slam on the brakes.
I know, right? Total instinct. But honestly, that often makes it worse.
Yeah.
Locks up the wheels, and then you have even less control. Easing up on the brakes, even just a little, can help those trailer wheels get traction again. And that's what brings it back in line.
So you're kind of letting the trailer correct itself before coming to a full stop.
It's wild.
Okay, so shifting gears here a little bit, how about backing up with a trailer? That's got to be up there on the list of things that make drivers nervous.
For sure, backing up with a trailer can be intimidating, no doubt. The thing is, the steering, it's like the opposite of a car, right? In a car, you turn the wheel the direction you want to go. With a trailer, you got to turn the wheel the opposite way.
Talk about having to think backward, literally.
Mhm.
And the sources we looked at, they really emphasize those visual checks before you even get going. Get out, walk around, make sure you've got clearance, check for anything overhead, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, absolutely. Can't be too careful. And then once you actually start moving, slow and steady wins the race, you know? No need to rush. And don't be afraid to stop, hop out, double check your path if you're not sure.
Yeah.
Better safe than sorry, every time.
100%. And, while we're talking about those unexpected hazards, something I bet most people don't even consider, railroad crossings.
Ah, yeah, railroad crossings, one of those hidden dangers, you know? You don't think about them till it's too late. Low clearance trailers, those car carriers, low boys, even some livestock trailers, they can get hung up on those raised crossings.
And that's like worst case scenario stuff, right? You're
Mhm.
stuck, traffic's piling up, maybe even a derailment.
Exactly. It's so important to know the clearance on your trailer and to approach those crossings carefully if you do ever find yourself in that situation. Stuck on the tracks. First things first, get out of the vehicle. Get away from those tracks. Then look around for any kind of emergency notification information. It's usually on the signposts or maybe even the signal housing. And of course, call 911 right away.
It's a good reminder that sharing the road with combination vehicles, well, it takes a bit more than just knowing how to drive your own car.
Right. There are so many factors involved that most people never think twice about, but these guys, they're dealing with it every single day.
So to everyone listening out there, next time you find yourself driving alongside one of these big rigs, remember what we talked about today. Give them space, anticipate their movements, understand the unique challenges they face. A little awareness goes a long way in making the roads safer for all of us.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It really makes you wonder about the future of trucking, too. As technology keeps advancing, you know we're going to see even longer, even heavier combinations out on the road, which means those safety considerations are going to be even more important. Something to think about as we navigate those roads of the future, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. A huge thank you to our expert for joining us and sharing their expertise. And to all our listeners, as always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.